Hello, amazing people. I'm here in beautiful Bali, and it's my last day. I'm flying out today, but then I'm back in January for my Bali retreat that I am co-facilitating with Aaron. I'm waiting for him to jump on because he's going to be joining me on this live stream any minute. So I'm going to show you, while we're waiting for Aaron, I'm going to show you this place. It's amazing. So I'm going to flip the camera and you're going to have a little look. There's more light. I have been staying here the last 5 days. It's in Ubud, which is just the most amazing healing place. I've been doing all this amazing sacred healing, going to temples and having healings, going to this electric lady. She's like, this lady like generates electricity and heals you with electricity. It's amazing. Having healing ceremonies, I already said that. Going to ecstatic dance, cacao. Oh, it's been epic. And yeah, so this is the kind of stuff that Aaron and I will be doing with you guys that join us at our retreat in Bali, which is in January 15th to 22nd. It's called The Art of Loving. It's for men and women. And it's a tantric soul immersion. And so I'll pop the link down here after this live stream, but if you are watching the replay, it'll already be up. But if you go to my Facebook page, EJ Love Priestess, and it's on the events there as well, so that there is an application process. So yeah, but we're going to dive into some of this stuff today, but this one is for men and women, and it's for singles and couples. But we've also got our 2 workshops coming up next weekend in Perth. It's Art of Loving Men for Women, and then in Melbourne the following weekend. Yeah, Bali is divine. Okay, well, I'll stop talking about my events. I'll put all the comments here, and I'll show you this beautiful space. And hopefully Aaron will jump on soon. I don't even know if he knows that I've gone live, but I have tagged him, so let's hope. Okay, ready? This is what I have been waking up to every morning at 5:30. And I've been journaling and meditating and and swimming in the pool. Oh, so amazing. Don't you just wish that you could be here waking up to this every morning? It's like 7, it's like 7:15 here. So while we wait for Aaron, I might start getting into it. I'll just check that he's got my message. So I'm probably going to go a bit blank when I do this. Okay, he knows I'm on. So hopefully he'll jump on anytime soon. Otherwise, I'm going to have to restart it. Let me see if I can... There we go. I'm going to invite him to watch. Okay. So wanted to do this live stream. And the reason why I wanted to do this live stream is because... while I've been in here in Bali, I've been at AFES, and AFES is this amazing event that happens all over the world. There's like 1 or 2 a year, right? And it's with entrepreneurs, types, not always entrepreneurs, but people that really have visions and conscious and successful and wanting to make a difference in the world, right? So we all come together, about 350 of us. I got invited to do an offering of doing self-marriage ceremonies at this event, and they have amazing speakers, like some of the top speakers in the world in their field. And so, and I'm manifesting speaking there. But I, what I really noticed is that I started to speak to a lot of women. Oh, Aaron's here, yeah. And a lot of the women were single, okay? And a lot of the women are single women who are successful, and this is like basically a big chunk of my clients, who really want a man to lead. And actually, because they're so successful in their own right, they've become quite masculine, and they've been working on their feminine right, but they don't really know how to, like, there's some kind of wall, right? There's some kind of wall of protection when they're not just allowing, and they're doing the work, and they're like, well, why is it not happening yet? Why am I not allowing this man? And why aren't men initiating or leading? And if this resonates for you, let me know. what's going on, what's still protecting me. And I've been working on this for like the last year on myself. And to the point where it got like, oh my God, like I've been doing so much work. Like, when is this going to happen? Like, why am I not allowing, like, why am I not even allowing men to desire me or be attracted to me? So I wanted to talk about that, and this is something we're really going to be bringing at our events the next 2 weekends. I'm going to add you, Aaron, while I'm doing this. I don't know. I always click on the wrong thing. Okay, hang on. How do I do it? I don't think it's letting me do it. Okay, I'm adding him. So I wanted to bring on Aaron to talk about from a man's point of view. And hey!
Hey!
Oh, I've missed your face.
Yeah, nice to see you too. I'm in a nice, beautiful place as well.
Oh, it's amazing. Is that, and you're in New Zealand? Yeah, you
Yeah, I'm
are.
in New
Yes.
Zealand, up in the Bay of Islands here. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
whereabouts in the Bay of Islands? My dad lives. Well, you know that.
I'm on it's called Motorua, just outside of Kerikeri.
Oh, oh, awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. You're like 15 minutes away from my dad right now.
Amazing.
Yeah. Say hi, everyone, for me energetically.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was giving a context of what we were talking about. So, I feel like what I'm going to do is keep talking about some of my experiences, and then really just talk about from a man's perspective in terms of what is required. I feel like from your point of view, like what is required for you to feel like you've got an invitation to lead, to approach a woman, to be attracted to a woman, to desire this kind of thing. And what I was speaking to before is that there's so many, there's so many beautiful, attractive women and successful women, intelligent women. They just have these walls up, like energetically. And I know that this happened when you and I first met, where I actually put up this wall towards you. And we've had good chats about this now. We can laugh about it. And I put up this wall and notice how I really explored how I shift and change my behavior based on if I feel energy with the man, I feel attraction, and how that then actually kind of has pushed men away, and then they haven't seen me in that way, or it's ended up in the friendship zone. And a lot of the complaints I hear from women, I mean, and men as well, but is all like, I find that, what is it exactly? I want to get the words right exactly. Is the men that I'm not attracted to are attracted to me, but the men that I am attracted to are interested in someone else or not available. This kind of thing, and it's like I never can connect with someone that I really want to connect with, and this has really shifted for me recently in a massive way. And so I wanted to touch on that a little bit. So this is to kind of give you the download of that, and then what we're going to be bringing through to help with that within the work that we're doing together.
Great, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like that space is a lot of the challenge. I mean, I've had quite a few of those women in my life as dear beloveds, and the walls can be quite thick. And the biggest piece I see is that the women have this desire to be inside of their femininity, but really their masculine is the one leading the role, and there isn't as much spaciousness. So a lot of the workshop that we're doing with women coming together in that space is so that they can begin to re-establish that dynamic balance that's inside of them, to invite men more into their life.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's so interesting. While I've been here, I was saying before, when I've been here at AFES, is I've been meeting so many of these women, and they talk about wanting to be more feminine. And I'll say, well, a lot of the work that we do is we really go into like looking at the relationship with the inner masculine, because that's what really is important to help them feel safe and held, and for their feminine to flourish without it, with it being effortless. Like, it's almost like, well, I don't even have to try to be feminine. It just happens naturally because this is inner safety, right?
Yeah, and the biggest part that happens, especially with a very successful, dynamic woman that's been a lot in her masculine, in many ways, it's masculine in the sense of her ability to be productive, but it's quite immature in her ability to actually like deepen into the emotional heart of the masculinity of a man. And that's where they're putting up these walls, is because the spaciousness inside the heart desires one thing, but the level of maturity to really be able to hold and to be present and to be still, which is more of that kind of masculine kind of, it takes a little bit more time to fabricate and to bring it to more clarity. And really what a man is looking for is to feel her willingness to surrender. So this, if the surrender is only in the mind, then it's not going to go anywhere. It has to be a deep surrender from the body that's saying, hey, listen, I'm willing to let go of my need of control. One of the biggest challenges I found when navigating this space with women of that dynamic is that they're saying, yeah, I'm willing to let go of control. Absolutely, no problem. I can let go of control for sure. What's the plan? What are we doing? What's happening? It's like, wait, it just literally, that's I've seen that
Yeah.
happen, and it's like, so the ideology, it's the same thing happens in life. The framework of the mind is like, okay, I need to do this, so I need to figure out how I can do this. My mind is going to try to figure out how to let go of control. I was just speaking with a few guys yesterday, and it's like there's certain things when it comes to this journey that the mind cannot figure out. And I'll say that again, like there's logical follows of the mind that it cannot figure out. It's literally coming into the embodiment of being, where the graciousness of the heart begins to flutter into life. So the embodiment of being, and that's where this greater essence of love has a chance to flow. But the mind can't figure out, how do I get to love? How do I say the right thing, do the right thing, be the right way, so that I can be in more love, and then I can still be productive and clear and really try to get a lot of things done every day and really, really, really fast. It's like, slow down and find that Shakti that moves, that flows, that knows the essence of life inside of every cell of her body. It's inside of man, it's inside of women, and it's waiting to come out more and more.
Yeah, and I was laughing because I like so resonate. I was like, yep, yep. So I'd love to know with the women that are watching this, who here can really resonate to this, like, oh, how do I need to let go of control. I need to surrender. The mind is like trying to make it happen. And I had a healing ceremony here when I had this experience where I had to, like, I had some plant medicine and I had to let go of the mind, and I was like, okay, let go, EJ, let go. And I was actually really angry at my mind after that, but it was a whole different story. But it was beautiful, and I got what I needed to get. So I really resonate. So yeah, so the woman watching this, I love, comment below if you can really resonate. And it is surrender something you really struggle with, and I'd love to know from you, Aaron. Because I think willingness is a really big part. Like, this is probably at the core of what I teach, is like you have to be willing to do the work. What do you think it takes for a woman to be willing to surrender?
Well, it's the first step of that willingness is recognizing that there's some part of her way of being in the world that isn't working. If the masculine is completely in control and is saying, no, everything is fine, but I want this man, or I want this thing, it's like really coming into a space of simply, and this is big for men and women, of I don't know. I don't know how to move forward in this sense. So it's having the willingness to call in, whether that source is from nature, whether that source is from something else, really calling in that divine will, because at the core of willingness is will. And when the will can really be the space of moving forth in the direction of the heart, then the willingness happens simply because there's nowhere else to go. It's like I've hit my head against the same brick wall over and over and over again, and there it's like I have to surrender. So if you're a woman listening to this, the first part of willingness is literally being like surrendering to the mystery. And surrendering to the mystery is in surrendering to the place that you might not know where the next check will come from. You might not know where the next, man is going to come from. You might not know where the next adventure is going to take you. But when the divine will can be surrendered, you could say, to the cosmos, to the universe, to love, to that infinite nature that just navigates this entire space, it's actually allowing Shakti to flow more into the body, because there's something wild and chaotic and free and beautiful about the, you could say, the feminine essence. But a lot of the conditioned, cultured reality that both women and men have been raised in is that at a very young age we push aside the emotional instability of the Shakti, the feminine essence, and there's this logical reason that's implanted into our consciousness saying we have to figure out a solution, we have to have logic in every single way. So the first step of that willingness is recognizing that the answer might not come from the logical mind. The first step of that willingness is being willing to surrender into the unknown, to allow into the divine unknown, because you're being guided. Every moment there's grace, there's flow, there's love. It's just a question of whether or not the consciousness is actually being attuned to where that divine grace is happening.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'm looking forward to, like, at our retreat in Bali, really going into talking about the soul, the personality, and the void, and like the unknown of like transitioning out of like wanting to know everything and sitting in the uncomfortability of, well, I don't know, because I'm kind of losing a sense of myself and my identity that I've created to keep me safe, and into what like is what the soul, I guess, is wanting to surrender to, what's really there, what wants to come. And I feel like, most of my life I've been trying to make shit happen, right? And it's like, while I was trying to make shit happen, over here is like something wanting to come through, and it's like, oh, this man wants to come into your life, or this experience is wanting to happen, but you're too busy over here trying to control everything. And I had this experience with A-Fest, my last A-Fest, that we were actually both at but never met at that A-Fest. I made plans straight after, I went plans straight after A-Fest, and I had things booked, flights booked, and we're going a little bit off topic here, but there's a point to this. And I didn't surrender to what might show up. But this A-Fest, I was like, no, I'm not planning anything. And literally at 6 a.m. on the morning that I was leaving, I messaged a woman, and I was like, hey, you going to Ubud? Can I come with your driver? She's like, yeah, come and stay at the villa. We're going to do all this healing stuff. We're going to go to see the shaman. We're going to go see the electric lady. I was like, okay. I completely surrendered, made all these new friends, met like from all over the world, really connected, went on all these healing experiences, stayed at this amazing villa that I'm at. And I didn't even know what I was doing waking up that morning. I had no idea where I was going, how I was getting there. And I've just had the most amazing experiences. So that is an example, is like what's possible. That wouldn't have been possible for me had I gone and made plans. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that surrender into the unknown where beauty, where grace, where form starts to really come in. And I want to address two of the different questions that I saw. Is one, the fears around surrender, and two, the sexual trauma that happens when fear begins to take over, especially in the bedroom, and the abuse and the trauma and things that happened in the past for people. And the thing I can say about fear is the biggest part about fear is that it's fear of the unknown. The things that we're most fearful are simply because our mind doesn't have logical understanding of what the next steps are going to be. So it creates this invoked response, this animal response of, I have to be afraid because I don't know. So part of what we're doing here is we're literally beginning to change the neurology in our brain about how we function in the unknown. Like exactly with what you were just saying, there was more grace to step into the unknown because your body and mind was not trying to say, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's like, I'm going to surrender into the unknown, and beautiful day and events happened. And what happens with trauma is because children know this so well. Children know the unknown. They know how to play the dance in the cosmos, to play in the woods and to make stories. And then often something happens where the fear, if they were in the unknown, and then maybe an adult or another child or something happened that creates a level of abuse or trauma. And my heart is deeply with all of that, and I've navigated a lot of that in my own life. The biggest place of going through that trauma to be back with the okayness of the unknown is feeling it, like feeling the depth of it. Of course, you can't just figure out how to do this in a 20-minute live. This is why working with coaches or counselors and things is really important. But it's going in to move through the space where there was some part of the little being that said, I'm afraid of actually being okay with the unknown, because my trust, as someone has just mentioned here, Dave is mentioning about trust. And it's like, it's trusting in that the universe has us, life has us, love has us. And when the feeling every day of waking up can be, how can love move through me? How can love move through me in service, in gratitude, in touching and connecting with other beings? But to allow love to move through, it has to go through the layers of conditionings that's got in the way of allowing love to flow. And that's doing the inner work. It's doing the journey. It's going in and the descent journey. That's why the biggest thing, you kind of speak about in this tantra or sexuality world is going in and doing the descent, because the greatest areas of mistrust, miscommunication, abuse, trauma exist in our sacral center. It's where our body stores all of the trauma. So to have permission, to have containers where it's okay to go into these trauma places, some of what we're building here in these weekend immersions, as well as our retreat in Bali, a container where the spaciousness is there to really move the emotional body, because it stores up as these energies. And that way, the subject that we're talking about here is when you then are going to meet other men, or you're going to meet other women, and you're inviting more people in, you're not meeting them from a broken place. You're meeting them from a space where your cup is overflowing with love. And when your cup is overflowing it with love, you're not trying to protect your vulnerable heart from being hurt more. Most of our interactions happening with people is just our heart and our mind trying to protect our vulnerabilities. So we put up these walls of insecurities, these walls of conditioning, say, I was hurt when I was 10, 12, 15, 20, 50, whatever the age was, and I'm never going to be hurt again. And my wall is thick and my wall is hard and nobody's coming in. And that's really the truth that happens. So the biggest space of allowing that to come in is allowing the vulnerability, the sweetness, the tenderness to come in, and to be okay with it, and to allow yourself simply to be seen inside of that vulnerability.
Yeah, beautiful. And I loved what you just mentioned there on the, when you say the words, this is really important, is the languaging of, I'm never going to go through that again. I actually had this epiphany a couple of months ago that after my last abusive relationship, I said the words, I'm never, ever, ever going through this again. And it kind of came to me, I was like, oh shit, I think that's part of this protection thing, right? And I realized my languaging, that I had like ingrained this, is like, I'm never going to allow this. I'm never going to allow this. Even I think I said the words, allow this to happen again, which was my driver to go and heal myself. But at the same time, put up a wall to actually allowing myself to receive love, because the man that I was with seemed to appear to love me so deeply that it wasn't safe for me to receive love. And so in my being, it was like, well, love isn't safe. So when, if there was attraction, or, a man was like bringing love to me, it's like, oh, like that wall would go up. Oh my God, that's not safe to receive love. So that's been a big part of the healing journey, is actually like flipping the wording around of, well, what's the wording? And I encourage people, if you've ever said this, like if you're watching this and you're like, I've said the wording, and I'm working with some clients at the moment and they keep saying, I'm never going through that again. I was like, okay, well, we might just have to change the wording and the languaging there, and like open you to possibility of experiencing a different kind of relationship, a different kind of love, and create an experience of how that would feel, right? So So yeah, I think that's really important that you said that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to speak to two things about that. One is our mind doesn't know the difference actually between, like, you could say the yes and no's, but like if I say to you, don't think of a pink elephant, don't think of a pink elephant, don't think of a pink elephant, you get a big, wide, massive pink elephant in your consciousness. So when everybody's saying that's never ever going to happen to me again, the mind is like, well, I'm going to recreate it again so you can actually learn to love it for the perfection it was in the past. And that's the second piece of that. And I want to speak this very clearly, until we can literally look at every single moment of our past, not like every single moment except that time when I was 5, or every single moment except that, it's like every single moment, and say, like, thank God that happened. Thank God that situation. And this isn't a mental thought. Like, eventually the mind gets there. In the body, a visceral, physiological feeling inside of saying, every single moment that's happened in my past, I would not want it any other way. And to really be in that state of gratitude for it. And you can't just bypass it and say, okay, I'm just grateful now, this or that happened. It's feeling the depth, the anger, the frustration, the guilt, the turmoil. And it's like, that's where the energetic frequency to which we fluctuate about in the world begins to change, when we have the willingness to go back and recognize that love has always been there. It never went away. And the more we give ourselves permission to deeply feel all of the sadness, all of the frustration, all of it, and not try to bypass the mind, not try to bypass the emotion, but we'll have full integration between our mind, our heart, our belly, and our genitals, all of it in one. That's where we begin to interact and meet people from a space of wholeness. And that's really what people want. We want to connect. We want to feel each other. But it's challenging to connect. I know this well inside myself. For so long, I was connecting with women with these deep levels of neediness there. I needed this, I needed that. I wasn't communicating it, but my actions were there because my own inner marriage inside between my man and woman was not strong. It was not, it didn't have, it wasn't married yet. They were in their dating phases, and the woman and the man kept reaching out for others just to get fulfillment. And it's like, it's still evolving. I'm far from perfect, but it's like, it's evolving, it's growing. And that inner union, I love what you were doing with the A-Fest this last weekend, is bringing people to that inner marriage. It's so vital. It's the point in which relating actually begins. Everything else is a lot of codependency bullshit.
Oh yeah, thank you. So much codependency bullshit, and we were going to be bringing the inner marriage in our retreat in Bali. So we're going to be doing some beautiful work around the inner marriage, and I'm really, really excited for that. And I'm really glad you spoke to, like, almost like marrying everything up, but also I really want to touch on something that I started to notice for me when I started to realize, oh shit, I've done so much work on myself, and it, like, to the point of, like, sometimes it has been frustrating of, like, why isn't shit showing up? Like, why am I still having these issues? Why, like, and what I've come to realize is that, yes, I was doing work at the mind, doing work on, emotions, but there was still other things that I needed to be, like, working on. Like, energetically, it was like, noticing energetically in my space, there was still things that were needed to be shifted as well. And also my actions and my behavior weren't necessarily, it's like I had to really lean into in situations where I noticed my wall coming up, and it's like, okay, like, calling myself on it to be like, okay, so the old EJ that's afraid would not would walk away or avoid or put the wall up. And it's like leaning into that vulnerability of going to have that conversation, or being a bit more playful, things like that in the past I would have just, I like a lot of stories I hear from women. They're like, well, if he's interested in me, then he'll come to me. Like, you got to he's not going to come to you if you've got a wall up. Like, he's not even going to see you. Like, he's going to be like, oh, well, like, I'm not even going to bother, because I don't even know if there's an opening there. I don't know if she's going to receive me. Like, maybe there's a wall up where, like, I can, where you have, you can have a woman that you see it on movies all the time. You have the girl next door who's really fun and playful, and she ends up getting the guy, and you have the model that's like all prissy and like beautiful, but she's got no personality, even though she's stunning. And I think it's so funny because we're in this like conditioned society where it's like, well, if you look like a supermodel, then you're obviously going to get all the men. Well, that's fucking bullshit, because men are actually not attracted to that. They're attracted to your energy and your vibe. And like, if your vibe's like got a energetic fuckle fall, then they're not going to come near you. This has been my journey.
Yeah, and you know, that's a whole other conversation into the elements of attraction and what men you know are really seeking in many ways. And yeah, there is a certain part of men that are the animal that can be attracted to the outside, but the depth, the yearning for things that happen on a much deeper soul level is all it's all within all of us. And it's like these levels of interactions is part of it's part of where we get to go in safe containers, and that's really the beauty of doing this work.
And so like I really would like so love us to go deeper, but we're on a time limit because I've got a flight to catch, and we're trying to keep our lives a little bit shorter.
As you can see, we can talk for a long time, which is why you got to come join us and come learn and come embody a lot of what we're discussing.
Yeah, exactly right. And I feel like what we offer is like to flip so much of this stuff, but to have the embodied experience, not just I'm going to come and learn and understand this in my mind. No, I'm going to actually feel it in my body. And then the piece I love that we really bring through in the Art of Loving Men, and what will happen in the Bali retreat as well, is on day 2, when we bring the men in, you actually get to the experience of leaning into that vulnerability, notice where walls come up, and leaning into the surrender, and seeing how we do show up, and then having that, getting to behave differently. And it's really amazing what happens on the day 1, how women come into the space compared to how they leave on the day 2. Like, I feel like they're just completely opened in a whole new way, and it's just so beautiful to witness their shifts and change. So
and the biggest part of that is, like, in the worlds we grow up in, none of us are really going to a classroom setting about relating, about how to relate deeper. It's like these things are just learned through life. But to have a classroom setting where we can have permission to go into our emotional body, our animal body, our psychic body, all of these parts of ourselves, and to have a guided sense of an embodied learning into taking something back into the world. That's the biggest piece for me, is how can I assimilate what I do in a workshop and then begin to make a difference in my family's life, in my beloved's life, in all of these different situations. That's really where differences start to make large changes. So it's why I do this work, is just watching those transformations happen in the people I see around the world. So
awesome, beautiful. So if you're a woman watching this, and you know you've got some kind of wall up, and perhaps you don't even know what the block is, that's the gift that Aaron and I have, is that we can see and feel someone's blocks. We can see that, and it's really, it's you know, it's the blind spots that we have that we can't usually see for ourselves, that we can see in you. If you want to allow a man in, a man that can lead, or, you know, create an opening, create receptivity and surrender, and to create that opening for a man to really see you, so it becomes almost effortless. It's like it's just taking the veil off, and taking the protection off, so you can allow yourself to be truly seen, and feel safe to be seen, feel safe to receive a man's love. And that's the stuff we're really going to work on. So if you feel called to that and you want to do some work on that, we have Melbourne coming up, so Perth next weekend, then Melbourne, and then we have our Bali retreat in January, which is for both men and women as well. So we'll also do this work with men around their relating with women, because, you know, men have stuff too. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And if
Yeah.
you've been listening to this and you have any questions, or you have inquiry, or there's something big that you know you want to move through, message either one of us. We're here for your support. Like, this is the work I love seeing in the world, and watching people wake up into more of their own capacity of loving in the world. And it's what our soul yearns for. There's just a lot of layers getting in the way. So send us a message. Next weekend in Perth, following week in Melbourne, and then January in Bali. And yeah, I get to have fun and play and dance and get real about like this joyride of life, and stop getting in your own way,
Yeah,
which I did for
exactly.
a
Good.
long time.
Yeah, I'm constantly shifting myself out of my way. So the Art of Loving Men, the name of the two events coming up in Perth and Melbourne, and the Art of Loving is the one in Bali. So we'll pop the events in the comments. If you can't make the events, and perhaps you want one-on-one coaching, Aaron and I also both offer that. So you're feel free to reach out and message us too. Okay. All right.
Thank you all.
Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Bye, Aaron.
Yeah, I will. Bye-bye.
Bye.